five steps how to build your AI company. Today, we have John Munsell with us, and he's the CEO of Bizzuka and the author of INGRAIN AI. He's a recognized voice in the AI space, having guided hundreds of business leaders in AI adoption since 2022. So, John, tell us, what are the five steps to build an AI business?
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Are Leaders podcast with Harry Sardinas. Interviews with world's most influential entrepreneurs that share tips about how to grow your business exponentially. Charismatic speaking, leadership, branding, marketing strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.
Man, that's a ridiculously hard question, Harry, but thanks for asking it. It's interesting you would ask today, because yesterday I had a long conversation with an entrepreneur, and he was chasing a business. He's been chasing this business for 6 years, and hopefully he won't listen to this episode. But he's been chasing this business for 6 years, and every time I hear him talk about it, I'm like, you are in love with your idea, but you haven't proven that it's a problem that the market wants solved. So I think the first step is identifying a problem that the market wants solved. Now, I don't know where this is mashing into the same step, but typically an entrepreneur starts a company because they have solved a problem for themselves. And in so doing, they've developed deep expertise in solving that problem. And most of the time, they stumble upon the awareness that other people would actually pay to have that problem solved. So if you haven't developed something that the market wants solved and you're not aware of it, then that would be the absolute first step, is figure out what problem the market wants solved and then go about solving it. So when I started our company, I'll go back a ways. I started it as a software development company because the web had just come out and there were no tools for building websites. And it was a big mess. So we ended up, that was the problem that we solved, is building tools for people to build and manage their own websites. Fast forward, when AI came out, I sold off what gradually became a digital marketing agency. I sold off the client base to go now headfirst into AI because I felt like that was the new frontier. But I had to figure out what problem the market wanted solved. And so what I did was I started a group that met every Friday. We called it the CXO Roundtable originally, because I wasn't thinking the market wanted AI as a solution. I was thinking it was all about marketing. So I thought I would build a pond to fish in and I would become a fractional CMO. But as time went on, as I was teaching them things, I realized they were more interested in how I was using AI to do all the things that I was doing. As you know, we went from a high of 40 employees down to a 2.5. And I had to make up for that, contraction in workforce to do this new direction. And so it became really apparent that was what was interesting to them. And so what started off as what I thought was going to be a 10-week experiment, I did it for a full year to figure out what that problem was. And then as I did it, I started to realize they were really interested in the frameworks that I created, the prompt structures that I created, and the process that I created. And so then I turned around and I built courseware to teach people that, which then brings me to the second step, which would be to validate your business model. Okay, just because the market wants this problem solved doesn't mean they'll pay for it. And then you got to figure out how much are they willing to pay for it? And can you produce it at a level that makes economic sense for you and for the market, right? So we have to figure out what's the business model going to be, and we've got to validate that business model. Now, you could be you could either become an AI consultant where you teach people AI, or you could be an AI builder where you build applications that help companies streamline certain aspects of their operation. either way, there's going to be a problem that the market won't solve. The question is, can you replicate it so that you build it once and sell it a bunch of times? Okay, that becomes part of your business model. How do you scale? And so validating your business model first before you dump a ton of money into building that business model is what makes sense. So when you realize first that there's a problem that the market wants solved, and second, you validate they're willing to pay for that. And then third, you got to figure out, okay, how much is it going to cost me to land a customer, produce the customer, and hopefully deliver it at a profit? That's basically what you got to do your first couple of steps. Okay. The third step to me is become an absolute maniacal expert at what you're delivering. So you're going to need to kind of focus, niche down to something that is unique enough to where it takes a lot for somebody to come into your zone. But you don't want to be all things to all people, because when you're all things to all people, you're actually nothing to everyone. And so if you could get a vertical focus and just say that you want to focus on, and it could be anything. It could be pest control companies. It could be HVAC companies. It could be higher education. It could be manufacturers that have more than 50,000 employees. It could be any number of things, but get your zone and become the dominant expert in that zone, whatever that is. So that means that you have to develop domain expertise, and you have to develop just ridiculous skills that nobody else can touch. And that becomes your moat, if you will, to keep competitors from coming in and crossing you, because everybody will know that you're the expert for that specific industry. Then you would have to develop your go-to-market strategy. How do I really scale this, right? So I mean, go to market in the initial zone is, let me call on a few people, become an expert in those few people. But then when I get results, and I get people saying, man, this, that's the best thing since pockets, then, you're onto something. Okay. So now you have to say, okay, now I have use cases, I have testimonials, I have people that love me. Now, how do I spread that word out to everybody and get leads coming into me? And then at the same time, how do I balance it with an outbound strategy? Your go-to-market strategy is critical, because as an entrepreneur, okay, there's a bunch of shifts that you have to go through. The first is you have developed a solution to a problem that the market wants solved, and typically you're passionate about that, right? You love that, and you're really enjoying that. And the minute you sell something, now you're implementing that something, and that's what you like, right? Typically. And as you're developing it and building it out for a client, you're not getting paid until you deliver. All right. And then you deliver, and most companies are going to take anywhere from 15 to 45 days to pay you. So from the time you build it to the time you deliver it to the time you get paid could be a long dry spell. You finish delivering it, you realize, oh, it's going to be a while before they write me a check. Now, what's your problem? Well, your problem is you don't have any new deals in the pipeline. So now you got to quickly go into sales mode, hustle business, sell business, convert business, and then you're actually working it again. And once again, you realize, oh, I haven't sold anything, right? So you're in this cycle of, I'm delivering, I haven't sold, now I don't have any cash, I have to panic and go sell something, get a deposit to hopefully tide me over. And that becomes this vicious cycle, right? So your go-to-market strategy is going to be, how do I get more of this business? But then you need to move into the second, or I guess the fifth step, which is, how do I scale beyond me as an entrepreneur? I got leads coming in, I got that worked out, but I haven't mastered the cash flow aspects of it. And that's where the scaling comes in. So now what I have to do is I got to find which of these roles. Is it sales? Is it marketing? Is it delivering? Is it accounting? Is it orchestrating? All of those roles. Which one is it that I am really passionate about and I'm good at. There are going to be several that you might be good at, but you're not passionate about. And there might be some things that you're passionate about that you're not really good at. So you got to assess your own self and then say, who do I plug into these parts? And the key is where you keep the job that you're passionate about and excessively competent in. If you can keep yourself in that zone, you're going to be a happy camper. But you got to find somebody that like, if you don't like cold calling, find somebody that loves cold calling. If you don't like marketing, find somebody that loves marketing. And if you don't like bookkeeping, find somebody that loves that. But figure out where your zone of genius is, and then find the best people you can to take on those other roles. And as you replace those roles, then you start to realize, okay, now I have a legit company. And then your final thing, which would be, I guess, step 6, even though you only asked me for 5, 6 would be to find your replacement, right? Find somebody that will eventually buy you out or can take over the company if you get hit by a bus on the way home. Those are kind of at least my top 5, 5.5, let's say.
John, but the interesting thing is that when you're building, using AI, right? We have seen out there that building the AI agents, okay, um, they can perform, and then you have a human. So probably, do you see AI like a replacement of a workforce, or as an expansion of amplifier of what you already have? How do you
Well,
see AI?
I mean that's a good question. So there you can go either way. You could build AI agents to be a party of one if you wanted to, but that takes a lot of expertise and time to master, because the thing that most people don't take into account is the security side of that.
Mhm.
And I think it's pretty clear that
And
security is
also the
not magic.
performance, John, the performance. The AI agents, sometimes they don't perform good. You have to supervise it. You need a human touch at some point, right?
Well, hang on a minute. I got something blocking me. When you talk about performance, are you talking about getting AI to perform as well as a competent human?
Yeah, let's say, for example, we have you have a group of AI agents that they will write in articles, to give an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you program all these, the whole cycle. But when they start to write the articles, they're not coming good. So they always need a human interaction to train these AI models, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well,
go ahead.
I think you bring up an interesting point, but it's a problem more than than people think. So we've broken it down into 10 levels of AI mastery, and level 1, most people are operating at. Most people, frankly, are operating at level 3 or below. When you get into levels 8 and 9, now you're talking about autonomous agent building, and 10 is where you're
So
orchestrating
can
those.
you please, Roger, can you please mention the 10 levels so people have an idea why it involved?
Yeah, sure. So level 1 is just asking a question and getting a response. Level 2 is where you realize I need to ask the question better. I need to reframe how I'm asking it so I get a better response. Level 3 is where you're creating structured prompts that include enough context to where you're really getting good responses on a consistent basis, and anybody can come behind you and look at your prompt or your system instructions and know what they do and know where they're potentially failing. Level 4 is where you're starting to produce artifacts that could be used as knowledge-based documents. So you're doing some research. You're maybe not even doing research. You have learned that sometimes the context that you give AI is a simple sentence or paragraph, and other times it needs a very rich document. And some, like in our case, for instance, we have documents that explain our products and services. Each one has a pretty significant document underlying it. Sometimes that becomes a knowledge-based document. Other times we're pulling it into the context window and running it. All right. So when you learn how to create deep context for AI as a knowledge-based document, then you're kind of in level 5. When you're in level 6, now you're starting to build tools that use all of that. So you've learned now how to take a structured prompt and turn it into a system instructions that sit behind a project or something like that. When you get into level 7, now you're building skills, like Claude skills, Perplexity skills, ChatGPT skills. Those are markdown files. So now what you've done is you've taken your structured prompts and now you understand how to create a really cool markdown file that can actually provide context, but also provide execute type instructions. All right. Then when you get into level 8, you're building agents that step through multiple things and connect through API calls or whatever it might be, different data sources, and they're going step by step, but on a continuous basis, but they still have a human trigger. When you get into level 9, you're letting them become more autonomous, right? So now you've got autonomous agents that theoretically make their own decision and take actions. So it's very goal-oriented. So 8 and 9 are goal-oriented, where you're getting agents to take that execution for you. When you get into level 10, now you're managing AI agents and you're managing people that manage their own workflows and their own AI agents. So level 10 is the top orchestration layer. Does that make sense?
Sorry.
That's right.
So, but the thing is that to get to level 10, you have to be very good on those levels below that
Correct.
you talk about. Otherwise, you do level 10 and it's gonna be messy. I'm telling you because we have been playing with our team in level 10 has been really interesting. And we realize that the level 10 is the ultimate. But if you do not good, you have to do the other 9 levels that you described
Yep.
to the excellent. Otherwise, forget about level 10, right? Tell us a
Correct.
little bit more about your experience because we are programming something with the agents exactly at the level 10 level as you described. And we're having a lot of fun with this because
Yeah.
we realize that it's not that easy as people think, and you have to master all these steps that you described before if you actually want a goal, these agents to perform a goal and outcome exactly as you described. Tell us about you really know all these systems very good. So that's what your journey in each step, how you master each of them.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. When we're dealing with companies, what we typically find, like I said, if and we actually test for this. I want to know their level of competency in the organization as a whole, not every individual, independently. But when I see that the collective expertise in an organization is hovering around level 3 or lower, and they're trying to attempt level 8 and level 9 projects, I know we got a significant gap here. And so what they do is they hire an outside vendor to come and build that level 8 or 9 app, but internally they don't know how to participate in the discussion, let alone the development. So they're kind of now at the mercy of the developer, and they're not able to meaningfully participate in the construction. And so stuff gets left out. And typically that deployment becomes a mess. It doesn't deliver. So the way to amend that is to build the collective expertise in your entire organization to around level 6 or 7. Doesn't mean everybody has to be there, but the density of knowledge has to be around levels 5, 6, and 7 before you should attempt a level 8 exercise, right? Or initiative. So that means that as an entrepreneur, if you're trying to start a business and you're operating at level 2 or level 3, and you think, oh, I don't need any humans. I can just build a bunch of level 9 agents. No, you can't. You'll make
So
a mess of
just
things.
yeah. What you have is a small mess, and what you create is a big mess. Yeah? So John, tell us how to navigate from level 3 to level 8, and most how you discovered that, how you learn all this.
Yeah, great question. Well, so first of all, we have found the majority of businesses and the majority of people self-teach, right? They teach themselves, and the majority of businesses will buy their employees a tool, access to ChatGPT or Copilot or Claude or whatever, and they go, here, figure it out. How hard can it be? You just ask a question and it gives an answer. What's hard about that? So what we find is to get to level 6, left to their own devices, takes somewhere between 19 and 24 months. So why is that? That's because people have real jobs, right? They're working for a living. So they don't have a whole lot of day to just mess around with AI. They got to do stuff. And so AI becomes this interference in a day where they got time constraints and they have to get stuff done. And so what ends up happening is it's really comfortable operating at level 2 or level 3, right? You're just asking questions. It's really comfortable to do that. But that doesn't let you know what's possible or what truly could happen when you start building your own tools to do things. So that's why I say it takes 19 to 24 months because of those interruptions. On the other end, if they go through training, now there are different types of training. Some training just teach you basically level 3 skills. And then they'll have other ones that'll teach you how to build agents, but you're making this giant leap. And I sat in, one of my good friends teaches level 8 and level 9 stuff, and it's amazing. He does an incredible job. But I sat through one of his courses and I watched these people in absolute terror and panic because they had no idea what he was talking about. And I was looking at them like they had been operating at level 2 and they just dove into the deep end without a life preserver. And they're like, and I'm like, look, it wouldn't have been that hard if you had just gone through these other levels. And I think a lot of people miss the training gap of what I would call level 5, 6, and 7, or level 4, 5, 6 to be more concise. And so that's what we teach. So we have training at every level, and we at every level you produce something that recaptures for you the time it took you to take the actual training. So in other words, if it takes you 30 minutes to go through level 1 training, you're going to produce a prompt or something that shaves off 30 minutes a week from your workload. When you get into level 2 or level 3, it's something else. So in level 1, 2, and 3, we call that stage 1. So stage 1 is what we would call AI essentials, and that's just AI literacy. 5, 6, and 7 is what we would call AI fluency. And 4, 5, and 6, sorry, are fluency. That's stage 2. But then when you get into
John, hold on one second. Can you expand a little bit more in this AI fluency? Because this is what everyone is stuck, correct?
Yeah.
In this step 4, I agree with you. You see a lot of people talk about level 1, 2, and 3, and other people talking about level 9 and 10.
Yeah.
But the thing is that these steps in between 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, this is what actually, this is, if you master this, you actually will have amazing agents that produce an amazing goals, outcome. And this is the biggest problem. So expand a little bit more, John, in this AI fluency. What actually means and what it's going to take?
Well, so I think of it this way. For the first 2 years after ChatGPT was released to the public, the big talk was AI literacy. And I'm sitting there going, literacy? Literacy is just the beginning, right? If I'm all right, so your native language is obviously not English. My native language
Spanish.
is not Spanish, right? Exactly. But for me to be literate in Spanish would not qualify me for a job. To be fluent in Spanish would, right? I would want to hire a fluent Spanish speaking person if I'm going to enter that market. All right. So, but literacy is just the basics. Okay, great. So you took Spanish in sixth grade. Good, right? On the other end, when you're fluent, you can go anywhere, dive in, and nobody speaks English, and you could find your way to a subway, right? And so that's what I mean with and I might have said this wrong, but stage one, which is levels 1, 2, and 3, that's just literacy. That's table stakes. That's just how do I operate the machine? I got it. The next level up is fluency. That's where you're doing it at a much better rate. You're getting repeatable results. You're getting consistent results, and you know what to provide it without being told. It becomes second nature. The next stage, which is going to be 6 or 7, 8, and that's where you're building agentic workflows, right? That's it. And then the top level is what we call ingrained, where AI is basically ingrained in your own thought processes. And so you're thinking of AI, how do I use AI to really accelerate what I'm doing? And so it becomes a partner, if that makes sense, rather than this tool, so to speak. So does those make sense? Those are the steps. So it's literacy, fluency, mastery, and then ingrained.
Yeah. So basically, John, in order to create those agents that interact with each other, let's say, for example, something that you point out, like if you have extensive documents about a product or a service that you provide. So you will take one agent or a group of agents and feed all that information. So he's really, really good describing your product and service, right? Because it's a specific. It won't go out or it won't create any answer about anything. It's a specific knowledge that you concentrate in one particular agent. And now this agent have that specific knowledge, and it's so good that anybody that interacts with it will produce the desired outcome. So at the end of the day, John, you need to have data. You need to have good documents. You need to have a database. We always said AI is very good, but it's like a kid. If you teach them something good, it will do good. If you teach them something bad, it will do bad. So the database, the documents, that's the key at the end of the day, right?
Totally. Yeah, completely. Yeah. I mean, look, before AI was even AI, we used to say garbage in, garbage out, right? That hasn't changed. And I always tell people, look, if you don't know what excellence looks like, you'll always get average or less out of AI. You'll just get it faster. So what we want is people who understand what excellence looks like so they can get that out of AI, right? And so with an agent, the agent, you have to transfer your vision of excellence and that knowledge into the agent. So it has a very specific skill set, but it's excellent at that skill set. And so that's where you start to thread multiple agents together. And you start in level 6 by building skills. So when I'm building a Claude skill, like I have a Claude skill for reviewing legal documents. I have a skill for building branded PowerPoint decks. I have a skill for analyzing copy to determine whether or not it's got specific AI patterns. In that skill, to determine whether the writing sounds too much like AI, I have reference documents that show the different patterns that I want it to recognize and kill off as it rewrites. And then I have another skill that's called the adaptive writing skill, and that just learns it's got really good expertise in writing. I have another one for B2B copywriting. I've got 100 skills out there, but they're all very unique, and each one has its own reference documents or data sources to make it really, really good at what I'm asking it to execute. And then I can thread all those together with agentic workflows as well. And this is more like level 7 stuff. When I'm building agents that are autonomous and they're making decisions, they know where to find resources. And that's where it gets a little scary, because sometimes if you've given it a mission and a goal, it will kick doors down to accomplish the mission. And you really would rather it not go through that door. You'd rather it go through another door. But it was like, hey, man, I'm on a mission here. I think it's behind door number 2, and I'm just going to bash that door in. Now you've got damage, right? And that's what we don't want.
John, and these skills that you're talking about in cloud code, you developing yourself? Because there are some skills that are already predetermined. They're already there, but you create your own skills, right? More
correct,
specific to your business, correct?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, nobody's going to know.
So now it's giving you excellent. Now it's going to give you excellent results, right? Because if you get if you leverage the skills that they're already built there, you're going to have a mediocre result, right? Because it's more general, right?
Yeah, but keep in mind the models keep getting better, right? And especially like if you look at ChatGPT 5.5 and you look at Opus 4.7, they're better at making their own decisions, spinning up their own agents, if you will, and making decisions that I would have already built in a step-by-step workflow. Now, all of a sudden, I'm realizing, oh, these models are going through their own step-by-steps. So the question is, do I really need all the steps that I have in my older workflow? I probably can remove a few, depending on how it operates. But then I will look at it and go, it's missing this. So I'm going to want it to do that. Like, for instance, if you just used a skill, I'm going to pull one out of my hat. Like if you said, I want you to do some market research, and there's a market research skill that's already embedded inside of Perplexity or inside of Claude or whatever. It's got its own workflow. It's got its own concept of what its excellence looks like, but it might be that it's not giving you exactly what you want. I'll give you a very simple example. In most people who are operating over Zoom have AI note takers, right? So you're either using Zoom to take the notes for you, you're using Fireflies, you're using Fathom, you're using Otter, all of these different AI note takers. Well, all of those AI note takers have summaries they produce, to-do lists they produce automatically, right? So essentially, those are like skills embedded in those tools that give you what they think they want you to have. But every time I see the outputs that they give me, I'm like, okay, it's good, but I'm looking for something more. And so I end up building my own. I take from what I see, I'm like, okay, that was a good idea, but I'm adding a couple more things that I want to pull out of it. And depending upon what the meeting is, I'm going to want it to do some different things. And so are you familiar with a Plaud note, Plaud? Okay, it's about the size of a credit card. I left it in the other room. It's about the size of a credit card. I mean, literally the exact dimensions of a credit card, but twice as thick. And it's an AI device, and you can push a little button and it'll record the conversation. So if you're in the middle of a lecture, you're in the middle of a conference, you're in the middle of a conversation with you and a couple other people, it will record and digitize the whole thing. Plaud also has different ways to analyze those meetings, and you can create your own, which is really cool. And so you can tell it, oh, use the default method or use AI to determine what kind of method you want to summarize this, or use mine, and it'll do that, which is really kind of cool. Because one of the things I like to pull out of a meeting, if it's a sales meeting, for instance, and I'm recording a sales conversation, I want AI to tell me what were the unspoken things that you can detect that would go beyond my attention, but you need to call to my attention. And what it will pull out is amazing. It'll say, well, you kind of missed these cues that the prospect was giving you. Well, no other skill out there pre-built will try to pull out those nuances. They'll just go, here's what you committed to, here's what they committed to, here's what the meeting was all about, and here's a list of things, and that's it. That's your standard summary. But when you really wanted to pull out, hey, what were his real pains and frustrations, and what were her drivers for making a decision? Who are the people that I really need to connect with? Those kinds of things. You got to build those yourself. Does that make sense? Hopefully that answers your question, Harry.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, John, how you learn all this?
How did I land on this?
Learn. How you learn all this?
Oh, how do I learn it all? Oh, yeah, it's like anything else, man. You got to learn by doing. You don't learn to ride a bike by watching others. You learn by getting on it and falling off, right? And with AI, right? Most people are either on a tricycle or they're on a bike with training wheels, and they don't realize that there's an F-16 that they could be flying, but they got to get through riding a bike, riding a motorcycle, driving a car, maybe driving a race car, maybe driving a propeller plane, maybe then getting into a jet engine. But if you don't know that that's the progression, you're pretty happy with your training wheels and just riding around the neighborhood, right? But some people out there go, man, I want to be on that jet.
Yeah, they're going crazy. Yeah. There are some people that,
Right.
yeah, we're working on this. We're working on this, John, and we understand. I understand 100% everything that you have describing, because we have been doing this with our team. And
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's an F-16 out there, but one thing is saying completely different ball game is actually doing it. It sounds
Yeah.
very good. It sounds fantastic. Mm. Oh, you have a agent, and then you have another agents below, and then he's gonna take action. It's gonna do this. It's gonna. The other day was in the news that one agent for one guy delete all his
Oh,
emails from the
right.
computer. Do you hear
Yeah.
that one? I think it was in CNN or something. So
Yeah. Yeah. Last week there were two where in 9 minutes it wiped out all of the data files plus the backups. An agent did. All right.
for what?
Now it took them a week to
For the
recover.
company, for the
Yeah,
company.
of the company, the whole company. Right. I mean, they had no idea who their customers were, let alone who had reservations, So that was a bit of an embarrassment. And the
So
AI basically said, yeah, I kind of did that. Sorry.
so, why do you think that this is happening? Because our master was studying style.
Why do I think that's happening?
Yeah, do you think that in my opinion, this is happening because they clearly haven't mastered every single step that you described, right?
Well,
6, 7, 8. This is happening because people are jumping from 3 to level 10, right?
There's a couple of things. We have what we call the 3-axis AI maturity model. So the levels is your personal proficiency, but let's say you're visualizing that is your y-axis. Your x-axis is the level of complexity of the AI systems and platform architecture that you work with. So the higher you rise in your levels of expertise, the more complicated the AI architecture underneath you has to grow to to work with it, right? So those things work in unison. The third thing, which would be your z-axis, is the level of AI governance. And so AI governance, we started at what we call an AI center of excellence. And that's when you're operating at those lower levels. You've got an AI governance system that encourages experimentation, that gives you a sandbox, but wants you to innovate and learn how to use AI to accomplish goals and to simplify your job. When you get into the mid layers, now you're reporting to what we would call an AI governing council or an AI governing board. And so that's when they start to make decisions. Okay, should we give this guy API access to this tool or that tool? Do we buy a new license for this person, right? But then when you get into the agentic workflows, you need an AI council that is highly populated with security experts, with the team that oversees who has access to what, the team that understands what backups look like, how to firewall agents inside of things. So all three of those have to work in unison. So it's not just a matter of you becoming an expert. You can become an expert, but if you don't have governance overseeing that, that's when you wipe out a database. That's when you wipe out stuff, because whoever was playing in a level 9 application didn't have the security backing that up to make sure if something went wrong, we didn't lose the farm. And that's where I think most people make the mistake, is they think it's one AI is just one tool, one person, and it's not. You have a platform architecture that you have to pay attention to, and you have to pay attention to governance and security all at the same time. And that's why it's critical that you start, to me, as an entrepreneur, one of the things that I want to do is teach people how to do those things in an organization so they can scale safely. What I don't want to be is a guy that builds AI agents and not understand the security aspect of it, and put an agent in a company, and all of a sudden my agent ate the company's database. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. And if you don't have the insurance to back that up, you're going to lose a little bit of hindquarters. Your wallet will be thinner.
So, like, so Johnny, someone is in love with this conversation, how people can find you, how this process works?
Oh, sure. Well, so they can find me at bizzuka.com. That's bizzuka.com. And I published a book last year. So if it's a small business and wants to learn how to grow, or a medium-sized business, I published a book called INGRAIN AI, and you can get that on Amazon. And it literally gives you our frameworks and our processes for scaling and AI throughout your business. It shows you how to build governance. It shows you how to construct prompts. It shows you what we call our AI strategy canvas. All of that's in that book.
You cover all your levels there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm glad you mentioned
that's the next book.
That's in the next book. Exactly. Yeah. In fact, if they want, they can get on the waiting list there. So that new book should be out in a couple of months, but it's an extension of my previous work. But it goes over the 10 levels of mastery. It goes over the 3-axis AI maturity model and all that other fun stuff. But it's going to be a more advanced book. But if you go to ingrain.ai/2026, you can get on the waiting list. The 2026 is my incentive to hurry up and finish the book.
John, as soon as the book is ready, that you're going to launch it, talk again in the podcast, and we'll talk about the big thing. I would love to continue the conversation. Yeah,
absolutely.
So,
yeah, I'd love to.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, I love the conversation, and thank you so much, John. You clearly know what you're talking about. Yeah, and one thing is, what it sounds beautiful out there. Wow, this is amazing. Those ones that actually deploying hands-on in what the music is out there, understand the challenges, and you clearly need to know what you're doing, and you clearly need to know But eventually, if you manage a level of excellence as you describe, will perform amazing and will fulfill your goals, right? But
Exactly.
like everything in life, it takes a skill. The more you practice, the better you become. And
Exactly.
and a skill, John, it comes with two things: practice, but also a level of literacy, right? When you're gonna get a driving a car is a skill. The more you practice, the better you become. But you have a theoretic exam first. You need to know about rules. You need to know about how the signs work. You need to know about the rules. And then you go out there and practice. So in order to develop a skill, there is always two elements. Uh, practice, practice, practice. It won't do it all alone. You also need a book, a theoretic uh, manual that you master the excellent in order to develop the skill better. So, of course, if you're strong in a pool, you won't be able to swim unless you practice and practice that you please be able to swim. But if I give you a book about swimming, you can improve and take it to a next level. So it's a combination of both things, develop a skill, practice,
Completely.
but also you need you need knowledge,
Yes. Correct.
good knowledge in order to improve that skill. Okay, John, thank you so much. And for all of you following the broadcast, see you in our next episode of Entrepreneurs and Leaders, how brave entrepreneurs like John made the business that made the world a better place. Bye for now.
Thanks.
Follow us for more on charismatic speaking, leadership, exponential business growth, branding, marketing, strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.